Just a little back from where before the point where we finished yesterday. We'll start on the line that begins in the word hanefesh bahamit, page mem, and that is the 6th line from the top, and we're going to the end of that line. So we have finished. The last statement was that the neshama came here below. The neshama, we're talking about the nefesh ho'elokis, the godly soul, came here below to accomplish two principles: to perfect the nefesh habamis, as we explained. What does it mean to misak nefesh habamis? And then to bring Elokus Lamato. And bringing Elokus Lamato also has a specific definition, and that is that it should be a dirah lo yizbara b'tachtein. It should be a dirah, a dwelling place. Not only that he should be recognized and so forth, but he should be a dirah. What is a dirah? So this is what he's going to explain. Shalidei hatikum de nefesh habamis. Because alidei hatikum, as a result and through the process of tikkun, of perfecting nefesh habamis. Again, just briefly to allude what we discussed yesterday, perfecting nefesh habamis means bringing the nefesh habamis to its fullest presence, to its highest level. It's true it's a nefesh habamis, but it's a nefesh with seichel, so that it now relates to the highest truth that it can relate to. That's means tikkun. And as a result of tikkun nefesh habamis, nishlama hakavona hazois the dirah b'tachtoin. So the intent, this kavona, the godly kavona, that it should be dirah b'tachtenim, is completed. How is that? This is what he goes from. For it is known the inyan dirah b'tachtenim, that what is the pshat? What does it mean, dirah b'tachtenim? Hu she'atzmus ein soiboru hu yumshech lamato. It is that the atzmus ein soif should be brought, come down lamato, brought down. What's meant atzmus ein soif? Not elokus, as it manifests itself through the world, where the world kind of is a participant in this gilu. It appreciates it, and it is enhanced by it, like we said before, that there is elokus in everything in the world. This is not the meaning of dirah b'tachtein. Yes, it's wonderful, it's purification, but it's not the meaning. Dirah b'tachtenim has a very specific meaning, and that is that asmus ein soiboru. etzem atzmus, as we said originally when we came to the union from atzmus, where the nefesh abamis realized that the real truth is atzmus. So we said that nefesh abamis cannot even fully relate to it. In his seichel, he recognizes that this is the truth and this is what one should want. But really, to get to that, it is, as we said, is to bitul. It is not capable to relate to it, to get via its own institutions, its own koiches, its own capability. It is to bitul, recognizing the presence of Atmos and so on, and it is dedicating itself to this truth, and thereby he relates to it. Tzorich lirtzos. This Inyan of Tzorich lirtzos, I'm constantly going and coming back to this Inyan, because I hope that we understand the significance of these words. Rotzoi is an extremely important aspect in the nefesh, in the human life. Primarily, before you understand anything about life, before you understand anything about the world, or anything about God, anything, before seichel kicks in, you have to relate to it, you have to want it. It has to have a meaning to it, personal meaning. You recognize that this is worthy of your attention. This means Gotzi. It is not by defining and understanding it that you will relate to it. That's folly. You concoct all kinds of ideas and you're going to be accomplishing this, you're going to become like this. This is not what this is. A rotzin has to come milmayla. You recognize this truth and you say, why do I want to live? Because this truth is present. Without that, what's the point of living? And clearly we do not mean to depress himself. What's the point of living? God's point disregard. But on the contrary, we should clearly see that this is what is present. This is what life is all about. Life is the recognition of the godly presence in the world. That's what life is. As I mention all the time, life is a godly effect. There is nothing in the world that explains what life is. Even the great idiots say we don't understand life. We understand everything, but life we do not understand. That's a great piece of wisdom on their part. You have to grant it to them. This is not a rotzon. Tzorich lirtzos. And this is why this is only tzorich lirtzos, because the nefesh does not have the means by which to fully be imbued in this, because it's still a mitzvah, it's nefesh abamis. And yet it says, so what is this all about? Tzorich lirtzos atzmos. This is the phenomenon of seichel. But seichel can identify truth beyond your own experience.
It sounds, and the way we explain the Rotzein as being, it's worthy of my attention, it's from the Maila, that does not sound like a full relating to it. In other words, that sounds like you could have that tzarech lirtzos. In other words, the fact that
nefesh abamis is tzarech lirtzos, but nefesh alikis, this is rotzon. And even by nefesh abamis, when you say tzarech lirtzos, So at least in his seichel he sees that this is worthy of wanting. This is reality. It is true that in order to get there, I said, you only get there through bitul. As we should still come back to it. In other words, your understanding of godliness, understanding of atzmos, it's not because you understand it, it's because you do not understand it. And you say, that which I don't understand, that is the truth. And that is the truth to which I want to dedicate my life. Okay, so let's go into this. I'll obviously go back because I want to maybe one more notch would bring it home. So he said, the Inyan dirah b'tachtonim mishe atzmos ein soin baruch hu yimshach l'mal. That the atzmos should be yimshach l'mal. Ukmoy al derech moshel, and this is what the term dirah represents. Al derech moshel, as for example, dirah's odom, a dwelling place of a human being. And I mean, this is something which is very familiar to us. She'atzmos ha'odom dor b'toicho. That what is dirah is that etzem ha'odom, the absolute reality of the human being. This is what is occupied by the dirah. As we said yesterday, and we said many times, it is not a functional service that the dirah provides. It is a defining element in the human being. Atzmos ha'odom dor b'toicho. And we're saying dirah lo yisborach means that atzmos should be defined by his presence in the world. V'zeh na'aseh al yidei habirut nefesh habamis. And this is accomplished al yidei habirut nefesh habamis. As a result of the bitul, of the purification of the nefesh habamis, ubirur kol hadvorim atachtenim, and the purification of all the lower worldly things, hashayochim the nefesh habamis, that relate and that belong to the nefesh habamis. How is that facilitated? How is that prepared? Dirah. Because על ידי זה נעשים הדברים התחתונים. Because as a result of this birur, these lowly things become mukshor legilui elikus, become a suitable place to reveal godliness. Which means that the way all these things that the nefesh habamis partakes, the way these things are first before the birur, harei eino be'erech klal, so there eino be'erech klal, it is totally out of reach, out of proximity. She'iyeh bahem gilui elokus. That in these things there should be gilui elokus. Let us just dwell on this line just very briefly. It says, Koidem, before the birur, it's totally not out of reach that there should be a gilui elokus, like cognizance of elokus. all the things that the nefesh habahamis relates to in its natural state, and we say many times, the primary satisfaction, the primary inspiration in the nefesh habahamis from its own perspective is what it accomplishes. Look what I have discovered. Look what I have defined. Look what I made. Now, it's very fine, even you made a very nice thing. I want to go back to a fundamental principle. A shocking question. The world talks about evolution. Chassidus talks about evolution. Not a negative thing in process, but in a positive process. There is the nefesh, there's the rotzah hanefesh, and from that you get seichel, and from the seichel you get midas. And midas bring to us over the barometer. What's the difference?
What?
What's the difference between this evolution and that evolution?
Good question.
Is it because it starts from the nefesh?
Because what?
It starts from the nefesh.
Because it's starts from nefesh. That's correct. That's absolutely correct. But we should have a good hand to understand this. The EDEC, I always call it EDEC because in fact it strikes me how human beings fall for this shtusim. In simple terms, okay, what they are saying, what the principle of evolution is, this watch just happened to be, and then I looked at it and said, oh, it's a good thing, I can use it. This is how the whole world came to be. First there was the structure, the physical structure, and then the human being looked at it and said, oh, I can use it. It's very important to understand that the spirit, the neshama of things, that is what inspires the structure of the things. Then yes, of course there is evolution. It's not evolution, it is revealing the neshama more and more in the lower and lower levels. Bring it down from seichel into midas, and midas and machshava divromais. And this is what we say. The way these physical things of the nefesh habahamis are present before the birur, the whole thing is based on the structure, on the mitzias of the gashmi. And there is no there's no, where does the lakus come into this?
The whole thing is, before the bureau, everything's based on the gashmi.
On the gashmi, on the physical thing, and then the nefesh identifies, oh, this is good, I can use it. It's all looking at it from a gashmi perspective.
So at that level the spirit is not informing the form.
Excuse me?
At that level the spirit is not informing, creating
the spirit
form.
is not inspiring.
Uh-huh. It's strange that things exist without a spirit inspiration.
Yeah, it's very strange.
But this is the case even without evolution. I mean, this is the normal.
We invented, we created the cell phone. Oh, you know what that did? That created a new human being. The human being has evolved to a new entity. Before he was only able to project as far as his legs can carry him, or his eyes can see. Now he can project much further. It's a different human being. Do you see the silliness of this? So that's what he said, bitul nafshe bahamit. You have to be mevarech. Yes, indeed, yes, you created the cell phone, but please, wait a second, hold off. God created the cell phone. The whole spirit for you to be able to conceptualize the cell phone. This is what created the cell phone. Therefore, before the bitul of Shabbamis, then I bear a cloud sheyibam gila lakus. What's a lakus? A lakus is the exact opposite of this. A lakus is beyond the spiritual truth. It's the absolute truth. And we said there's a motivation. This is the reality itself. But it doesn't have the process of coming into being. They have bitul, and therefore they have bitul, as a result of the process of birur, of purifying and clarifying the nefesh habahamis. Essentially, we tell the nefesh habahamis, don't be stupid. Please think into it a little bit deeper and see that all the things that you have created pre-existed your recognition of. There is a David HaMelech has been mentioned many times already. In Borchi Nafshi, but we say the Kapitel Tilim, we say on Rosh Chodesh. So in that Kapitel Tilim, in just a short few verses, we're describing, the richness in what's going on in the world, from the lower creatures all the way to the human being, on the highest level. Human being who recognizes Hashem's creation. So the Malach says, you created there's a sea, the water, so to speak, the open waters, the infinite, what's called in Yemara, Maim Shein Lam Sof. What is the Maim Shein Lam Sof? Shom Oni Yesi Halech. There, boats travel. What does the Nefesh Habahamis say? I invented boats. And the Rebbe says, you're making a big mistake. The Rebbe preempted you. Even such practical things, it's all part of the creation. This is called bitul nefesh habahamis. Habahamis is to open up your eyes and start looking, what is the reality? And thereby a lakus can be identified, as we said earlier, in everything in the world. So, okay, so this is one explanation, that to the birur, then the place, the world becomes a mokim mukshor, a suitable place for Elokus. Okay, so beyond the line begins with kuli, the oid, and then also the oid. Furthermore, there's another factor in this union, that the world becomes a place for Gil Elokus as a result of birur v'nefesh habahamis. And that is the kasher poel habitul b'nefesh habahamis, that when one through birur, through avodah, affects a bitul in nefesh habahamis, and the bitul in nefesh habahamis again simply means the nefesh habahamis takes itself out of the whole equation and recognizes where the real richness is coming from. Ubidvarim atachtein, and the bitul in the dvarim atachtenim in the lower things, but all the lower things, the real thing, if there is the godly inspiration, the godly spirit. So then, when there is this effect, this arouses, and then as a result, the mamshich, it actually draws it draws the hamshoch of Atmos Ein Sof. Okay. How is that? So he goes into a little moshel over here. We'll have to just start it and then we'll conclude it another time. This is based on a moshel. The moshel is Tzipor HaMdaberes, a speaking bird. What is the principle of a speaking bird? The kasher odom yeshli bakosha lamelech. When a person has a bakosha, has a special request from the king, the leiv malachim ein cheket. The heart of kings ein cheket. You cannot fathom it. You cannot really understand what's going to affect and direct the heart of the king to your request. Shemuvda lagamri mibakoshas hahedyet. The leiv malachim is moved lagamri, is totally remote from bakoshas hahedyet, from the request of the simpleton. Or something similar on a different platform. Chacham Godl, as in the case of a Chacham Godl, of a Chacham of great quality. Shetarud be'omkoi b'imkei inyonav, who is engaged and preoccupied b'imkei inyonav in the depths of his interests, what he is involved in. Besichlim amukim biyoiseir, in extremely deep concepts of seichel. Sichlim amukim biyoiseir. These extremely deep aspects of seichel. Seichel is identifying and defining what is in the rotzen. Essentially, the rotzen is identifying what is in the oineg hanefesh and what is in the nefesh. The nefesh, this is the reality. So sichlim amukim biyoiser, means that he is very deeply engaged in understanding what is the truth of this particular attitude, this particular identification. This chacham is involved, so to speak, in this profound element that is completely beyond world. Where does that spirit come from? What is it stand for? So therefore, his interest is an entirely different platform and different reality. And now this simpleton comes with a request and tries to get his attention. He can't relate to it. I'm going to leave the conclusion of this marshal for tomorrow. I just want to tell you, I mentioned a story that we mentioned, that is recorded, that we mentioned in the past. There's a story of the Ramban. The Ramban had a Talmid who was not well, and he was passing away at a young age. So the Ramban was visiting him. The Ramban said to him, I want you to promise me that when you get up there in front of Beis Shalmaila, you should demand and ask, how come Eden is suffering so much? You should give me an explanation, and then you should come back to me and tell me and give me that explanation. Tell me what the explanation is.
Suffered or suffered?
Huh?
Suffered or suffered? Suffered or suffer?
Why does
Suffer, by Eden is suffer.
Present tense.
Present tense, yeah. So Ramban plenty witness suffering. Believe me, everybody. Why Eden are suffering so much? And then you should come back and tell me what the answer was. So this Talmud passed away, and a day, two, a week, some time passed, and he is not coming back with the answer. Finally, some time later, there was some other issue that was involved, and the Talmud came to the Ramban. So whatever the issue was, he accomplished, and then the Ramban asked him, how come he didn't come back to me to give me the answer to my question? So he said, I'll tell you the truth. When I got up there, I saw what was going on. I was embarrassed to ask the question.
This is Seichel Amukim.
That's with Seichel Amut. I couldn't even. I'm looking at what's going on. I'm coming out of this out of kilter question. As if I'm blind to what's going on. All right, this is it for this morning. And this marshal will conclude tomorrow. Have a great day.
Thank you, Paltiel.
Call to it.
Everybody's encouraged to come to the Gemara.
Yah